So I'm, you know, you can see all these lines that have been ghosted by my rag. So you can see I keep playing. And you know, what I'm really searching for right now is one line reasonably placed that will define the landmass that we're standing on and the water. I think we're getting closer now. I like what's going on here. There's one thing here I'm not too fond of. I don't want this dipping back down because this is going to be in the shade. It dips down. This dips down a little bit. Yeah, I think I would like to just change this a little bit. So let me just there. Yeah, there's a notch at the end, but in general it doesn't dip down to the left. Alright, so we have this. This is a very strong area. I want this strong. I want this kitty corner to this because this is strong. But I need to add interest in here. And I think that one way I'm going to do it, it may not be the only way, but one way that I'm certainly happy to do it is to indicate some grass. You know, as though this area is really getting into greenery as we go down to the shore where the rocks are. Okay, that's awfully lively. That's really lively. Yeah, I don't know, something like that, you know? Okay. Just thoughts, that's all they are. But, you know, the more you have of them, sooner or later, you probably have some good ones. So I put in a few lines here, partly for illustration, but they're indexing lines for myself as well. It may not look like it, but the distance between this line and this line here is the same as the distance here. The distance between this line and this line here is the same as the distance here. Even though this line appears to be coming down a little bit. To me it does anyways. That's because you have the illusion of, as I mentioned earlier on, I'm bringing that line up. This line I just kind of guessed at, threw it out there and drew it in. It is indeed dropping down to the right. The effect I'm trying to create here is that as we come into this bay or channel or whatever it is, design-wise, it seems to me that it works well to have, if this rock line, if this, you know, this water line is going up here, then the wave line can be going down. My intention is not to paint waves per se, but maybe a general pattern in the water, and I'd like that general pattern to have a bit of this feel as we go down here. So we'll see how it goes, but you know, it's kind of funny to look at this line and this line as being parallel, but they are. Well, I was pretty tempted to put a tree in on the right hand side here, and you know, or something to balance that. I don't have to have anything to balance that. I like the idea of a very important and strong mass here, and then allowing it just to shoot off the painting on the right hand side. So I may go in that direction. I may just do that, you know, and I might subdue this rocky ledge. Regardless, this has to be more interesting than it is right now. I'll play with that later, that's okay. You know, a charcoal sketch, actually let me just drop this on the, how does that work? Let me just adjust the camera for a moment here. Yeah, but you know, the sketch here, it's just a line drawing. Very important to remember that. If I wanted to give myself more information, I would love to, I'm very tempted to actually, to shade in some areas, to help to remind me of what sorts of values I'll use in the painting. But if I were to do that, I'd be covering a lot of areas with charcoal, and that would in a way compromise the workmanship of the painting itself. So by that I mean it would reduce the ability for the paint to bond to the latex canvas. So I just stick with line drawings when I do that. The job of the wash-in will be to establish values and colors, roughly, hey? And I make a lot of mistakes when I do that. But that's the idea with that. So I'm not going to lay in shades as much as I'd like to. I am going to put in a few more lines here just to indicate some structure or some design in the rock. At the moment I'm thinking I'm just going to let it run off the right hand side of the painting. I'm not worried about doing that, you know. I still have the entire sky to play with too. I mean, I have this whole thing to design, and I'm not going to get too specific with it. I'm again just going to put in a few lines here and there, and sort of the fun part, also the exploratory part of it will be, who knows, you know, you sort of take it step by step and let your imagination run wild a little bit. But the sky, like I said, it's so ethereal. It's you can do anything with it. So I look forward to doing that. I am going to have to lay in a few lines just as a guide for the sky. I know this will mostly be dark down here. And right now it looks like there's all this content down here and it's an empty space up here. But the sky's going to be strong enough that it'll balance. You know, the two will balance. It's not going to be a problem. Blah, 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 blah. See you soon. Well, I hope you can see the sky. Maybe if I drop the canvas a little bit, better look at it. The light's a little better on it now, maybe. Yeah, you know, I like this. I do this often with a painting. You know, not always from the left, sometimes from the right, but I love this feeling of it sort of going over our heads, and then you can look stepping back behind, you know, as you recede into the distance, fairly, you know, several layers of clouds, so to speak. It's pretty dramatic. It promotes a sense of grandeur. On a large painting, certainly helps, you know. I may even just go with blue or sky or variations of blue behind here, and then have some light catch these foreground clouds, and then back to dark clouds here. I'm not sure. We'll see how that goes. Nonetheless, we're fading off on the right a little bit. I have these two arches here. Those are indexing lines. It's possible that these are points at which I change the value of my colors slightly in the sky, just to give it a little bit of impressionistic design, I suppose. It will also help to frame our main painting. Not sure yet about what I'm going to do here. I don't mind the sky fading off. I think I may end up painting, or at least washing in the sky before making a decision regarding that. I'd still have thought of a tree, maybe a small one, or some shrubbery. You know, some ground cover poking, intercepting this line in places. I don't know yet. So what I decided to do is, as an adult, mature and responsible, fully grown male, I'm just going to ignore it, and maybe it'll go away. So I guess I'll start painting some lines in. I'm going to start with a little bit of, actually quite a bit of cobalt blue and a bit of raw umber to begin this distant hill. And I'm going to cut into this one so that I can overlap with the darker line later, because I'm going to go with ultramarine blue and raw umber to draw in the more foreground aspects of the painting. I'm putting these lines in thick enough so that there is some forgiveness when I cut into it, painting the sky. And I'm making any small adjustments that I deem beneficial. I'm doing that now, without getting too detailed. My paint is thinned off, well, with paint thinner, but it's about the consistency of, yeah, cereal cream, or half and half it's called sometimes, or maybe that's coffee cream, I don't know, a light cream though. So I'm getting good coverage. It's not translucent really. If you're a bit liberal with your application. Alright, so that's the top of that distant ridge. Let's go along the bottom here as well. And I want to make sure that I'm pretty accurate with following the line. Now, of course, as the painting moves along, let's see, I'm already making a bit of a mess, but as the painting goes along, you're bound to get a little bit crooked in places. That's fine, you know, we'll fix it as need be. But the truer you can stay, you know, to these straight lines, and I've used a straight edge, well, it's fairly straight. I've used a straight edge to lay these in. So I'll try to not get too sloppy here. Okay, I think that's going to work. Okay, I'm making a mess now. So I'm going to dip into a little more raw umber and some ultramarine. Not much though. You know, really, wouldn't even need to do that. I really don't need to do that. But this line is a little closer. Again, if there are improvements that I think I can make as I'm moving along, I'll make them now. And if there are unnecessary lines in there with charcoal, I'll get rid of them now. But again, I'm not, as you can see, I'm really not being that fussy. It's kind of slow and tedious. I'll do most of this without the camera. I really don't have a whole lot to say as I'm doing it, so if I have nothing to say, then there's no point in talking. So yeah, okay. Wherever there are some trees, I'll make that a little bit darker. Yeah, I don't like what's going on there. And this side of this landmass is in the dark as well. So I may as well paint it dark right away. Okay, this distance stuff is all going to be, I think we're going to go with blues, greenish blues. If not, we'll go with more purpley stuff. Either way, I'm going to wash it in. I'm just going to add some straight cobalt blue to the area. And seeing as it's far enough away, I don't need to worry too much about details. I can just block it in. Has to be done sooner or later, so you know, while I've got those colors on the palette, I may as well do that. It's just labor. It's labor with a great reward, though, or it can be. Am I recording? Good. Okay. Boy, sometimes I just completely forget to turn the camera on, or to push the record button. Okay, I'll be a little bit fussy. Going up against those ridges. I'm using a flat brush right now. It's even a fairly new one. I should probably reserve it for actual painting, but I'm not covering a huge area and I'm not being too rough on it, so as long as that continues, I don't think we have too much to worry about. Here, let me just add some more, load a little more cobalt blue into my pile. And when it's wet, I know that value-wise it looks very similar to the outline of this little island that I've painted in a little closer to us. But when the wash-in dries, you'll see the difference. Or I certainly will anyway. And yeah, you need to be able to see that because that's your reference going forward with the painting. Alright. A little more of the cobalt. Still got a lot of raw umber in there. Or not a lot, a little, just a hint. And I am, of course, going to go to a much bigger brush for washing as I get away from these small areas that have to be reasonably detailed. Okay. Alright. I'm just going to keep at this. And once things have come a little further along, we'll talk to you then. See you soon.